Logan 5. Do you identify?
Negative.
Hey, and here we are live on a new episode of the freshly rebranded Logan Fizzle YouTube channel. We just rebranded from Headway channel to Logan Fizzle to align with my Twitter identity. So that's at Logan Fizzle at Twitter. And I'm not as active on Getter, but I have an account there as well. So anyone who's interested in that. So we have a very special guest this time around, as we always do. Our guest this time is a gentleman by the name of Abel Garcia. I don't know why I spaced on that for a second. Abel is I guess you would say, I don't know if I would say male to female or female to male detransitioner. Abel was born biologically male, transitioned to female, and had some second thoughts about it and transitioned back. And we brought Abel on here. Abel has been on other shows, YouTube channels, including Elijah Shaffer, Gothics, and Slightly Twisted Female. So without further ado, let me welcome you, Abel, to the show.
Hello, Logan. How are you today?
I'm good. So, so where do we start? Let me see.
Oh, we can start wherever you'd like.
Sure. So we just had an episode last time. There was a gentleman by the name of Billboard Chris. He came on with Doc Oranamite, and we had a big discussion about transgender issues, particularly when it comes to children. And I, we talked before the show. You told me you've seen that episode. So did you have any thoughts on that before we go into a deep dive?
No, I don't.
Okay, so well, first of all, I just want to thank you for coming on the show, and I guess where do we start? Start at the beginning, right? As they say.
Sure.
So maybe tell me a little bit about I don't know, maybe start from your childhood and go from there. And where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I'll start with who I am, just for chat to know who I am. So my name is Abel Garcia. I am a male to female detransitioner, born biologically male, and I transitioned from male to female in 2016. I continued to socially transition all the way until 2020? And then, but I medically stopped transitioning by no later than 2019. I am currently in the state of California and here in the United States, but I do plan out moving hopefully within the next few months.
Okay, so all right, so that's a good good setup there. So you started transitioning in 2016, and then you were doing that until 2019. So that was 3 years.
So that was medically transitioning, yes.
Okay.
I socially transitioned up to 2020.
So okay, up to 2020. So that's another 1 year.
Yeah.
And then after 2020, you decided to change course.
No. So 2020, after 2020, I was finally able to socially live as a man again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when was the first time you had a sense that you were not male or a boy, or describe however you want to describe that in your own terms? Can you tell us a little bit about what your journey was like? Were you very, very small, or was this something that came on later?
Looking back now, as I've said in multiple interviews in the past, I've always thought I didn't associate well with boys growing up. I felt comfortable more with females. But I just thought I was weird. I didn't think about anything about transitioning or anything until I found the word. I think around either late middle school or early high school is when I found out about transitioning and transgender. But I obviously wasn't able to do that until after I turned 18 and I could be on my own.
So you said you felt weird. You used the word weird. How much of that had to do with your sense of social fitting in versus, maybe any sensations you or feelings you had about your anatomy or your biology? Was it more biologically based or more socially based?
That I don't know. I've never really thought of that. I would have to say just socially, I would assume.
Okay, okay. I mean, I guess when you're a kid, you're playing with other kids, especially prepubescent children. The sex characteristics are not as obvious as when you hit puberty and so on. So, but I think there's still rough and tumble play and different behaviors that tend to show themselves in children. So, what was it about the other boys that you didn't really fit in with? Was it just certain attitudes or behaviors or?
I would say I wasn't as aggressive as other boys growing up. Most boys being very aggressive, high energy. I wasn't like that.
Okay, all right. And do you find that your ethnic background played a role in any way in any of that?
No, I don't believe it did.
No, no. Okay, because I'm just wondering if there was like some kind of machismo or other influences going on. How was your family life?
Growing up, my parents, the first couple of years, my parents weren't there. Both of them working two job each. So I was mostly raised by my grandparents the first few years. Once eventually my father got a good paying job, I was raised mostly by my mother. My father then had to be away from the house most of the time because he was working.
Okay, okay, that sets it up. So you go through your childhood, and at a certain point, you just did you start feeling that you wanted to be a girl, or felt like you were a girl, or was this still like kind of an ambiguous thing? What was the thing that triggered you to pursue this path? You said something about you discovered the word.
Yeah, I was. I discovered it like I said around maybe late middle school, early high school. I was just on YouTube and I just found it. Um,
Mm.
like I said, I think I assumed I was a female when I was much younger than that. I I would say growing up, I was a slightly weird kid. I would say I was more aware of the world than most kids. I would assume. I don't know how to explain that though.
Give it a
uh,
try. That's okay. Give it a shot.
uh,
More aware in what ways?
Trying to think how do I explain that.
Was it in relation to the way males and females behave, or just
I think just the world in general.
okay?
I trying to think how I could explain that.
Okay. Well, we can come back to that.
Yeah,
So you felt different.
yeah,
You felt you discovered the. Where did you discover Well, you said it was on YouTube and stuff.
yeah.
So what was the feeling that you had when you first discovered that word? Was it like a click, that something you thought, yes, this is me, or was it something that was just intriguing?
Uh, I believe when I first found the word in, I thought that was. So I thought, okay, that's me, and I assumed, okay, I can finally be a girl.
Okay. So then what did you do? Did you come out to your parents, or did you go to a
I
school
waited until
counselor?
after. I waited until after I was 18.
Okay, so you
Uh,
didn't. Okay, yeah.
yeah, I didn't do anything. So I just waited until after I was 18. 18, I found a therapist, and I had been working with him for a while.
Okay, so what kind of things? I mean, this is kind of getting into, obviously this whole conversation is getting into personal things, but what kind of things did you talk about?
When I first talked to the therapist, I told him I believe I was transgender and I would like to transition because it was a gender clinic and they were pro LGBT. They said I was transgender, and after my first session, they said that they already had my letter approved to start my transition.
So they didn't go into any discussion about, maybe there was some other reason you felt that way, or
No.
explore any other things? They just went straight for that.
Yep, they went straight for that. They told me that they didn't want to gatekeep anything, and they wanted me to transition.
Okay, they wanted you to transition, or they wanted to assist
They
you?
wanted to assist me. Sorry about that.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm just trying to get a read of it. I don't want to accuse anybody of anything, right? So, okay, so they basically gave you the green light. So what happened next?
I waited for about a year before I transitioned. I told them I didn't want to transition right now. I wanted to wait and make sure everything was good to go.
Okay, and what's that process like? Do you change? Like, do you dress differently, or do you?
So I had to socially transition, so just appear female.
So that, like,
But
in the way you dress and so on.
yeah,
Okay, and were you doing any of that prior to this decision?
no,
No. So you were kind of.
prior to that, I was living with my parents, so I couldn't.
Okay, so your parents, you did not expect your parents to be cool with it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how did that feel? Was that uncomfortable? Was it scary, or?
Yeah, it was a little scary. My obviously didn't transition until I moved out on my own.
Okay, so you move out on your own. You go to see a therapist. You kind of got a little bit independence. You're going to go ahead. They affirm your gender identity. And so you said in the first meeting, they basically were ready to affirm you.
Yes.
How many more meetings before they were willing to give you, I don't know, like paperwork to go ahead and go ahead with interventions?
So, like I said, I waited about maybe on the low end a year, on the high end a year and a half before, and I think I was seeing the therapist every 2 weeks. But then I was also going to see them in like a group therapy for about once a month or once a week. I can't remember. I think it was once a month though.
Okay. So you socially transitioned for about a year. Are there any experiences you can tell us about how that went? Like, did it feel strange when you first started socially transitioning?
I didn't socially transition until after I moved out.
Okay.
So that was like I said, a year and a half after I moved out.
Okay. And so what was the first thing you did to socially transition?
I had female clothes. My hair was long, so I didn't have to worry about a wig or anything. So just dress feminine.
Dress feminine. And what kind of
Yeah.
reactions did you get from people?
Well, those that were aware that I was transgender, they were very supportive. Out in public, I didn't get a second, like no one second thought anything.
Okay, so you didn't get any dirty looks or any weird
No.
reactions from males or anything like that?
No.
No. So, when we spoke on the phone before we had this, date book to talk, that was one of the things I noticed about your story is, you get, there's a lot of discussions about this sort of thing where people are looking for some kind of a sizzle story where, the therapist forced you into it or something like that. But when I remember when I spoke to you, I kind of got the sense that, you went about everything pretty much exactly the right way that in the best case scenario you should do. You waited till you were 18. You weren't, preteen, blocking puberty, that more controversial stuff. You took your time. You went ahead and you socially transitioned. You got a feel for it. Then what happened next? Did you get the paperwork to do the next thing, or did you?
Yes, I got the paperwork to transition. I took that all to my insurance, and at first they did not want to approve the medication, which was, I believe, it was just a estrogen. I might have had a testosterone blocker, but it's been so many years I don't recall. but I know I did take both testosterone blockers and estrogen by the end of it.
Okay, and what did that do to your body? Did you feel that immediately? Did it take some time?
I believe it took like a few months for results to show, or maybe a few weeks. Obviously, the body fat around my body distributed, slowly developed a breast tissue. I believe my skin had softened. I'm trying to remember some other stuff. Oh yeah, I didn't have much of a beard back then, but my facial hair did stop, or not stop growing, but it slowed down drastically.
Right. So I do actually. I think I have at least one picture of you in more of a transition state. So let's see if we can find that to show our get our audience. Just take a second. I'll find that. So maybe you can describe a little bit what you were doing with your appearance in those days as I'm setting up this picture.
Sure, like I said, I did my best to transition from male to female to appear more feminine, wear feminine clothing items. Um, like I'm pretty short for my age, 5'4". So I like I said, and some people might disagree with me, but I feel like I was able to transition or socially transition enough that I didn't get second thoughts at first. But I know
Okay.
obviously my shoulders uh, give it away. My voice is
How
can
much do you
kind
think how much do you think that passing matters?
in general for other transgenders or for me.
Uh, I guess in general, and so okay. Sorry, here we go. So here's one of the pictures of you. How far along was this in your transition? Was this early or was this a little further in?
Uh, I believe that was after after I got breast implants. So that was 2018, past 2018.
Okay, so you had the surgery.
Yes.
So what happened there? That must have been. Was there any discomfort? Was it a day procedure? Did it take like how long did it take
Uh,
to heal?
I was I was in and out of the hospital that same day.
Okay.
Recovery, I think it took maybe a week or two. I don't remember, but it was not fun
It
because
was
it was just
no. Go ahead. Tell us.
it wasn't fun because I was high as a kite on pain medication.
Okay. So you were on pain meds and you were how did it feel just generally? So now you've got this kind of different body now, and you're going through this experience. Like, did you notice anybody looking at you different? Did you feel different about yourself?
At first, I was really happy about it. I was glad that I finally had the breast implants.
Here's another picture. If I can, let's see if I can zoom in on that. No, maybe the
That one right there, that was I think I had just recovered from the surgery
okay.
because the young lady in the red dress, a friend of mine, she had graduated from high school not long after I had surgery.
Okay. So can I ask what size they were?
Really big.
Really?
Really big. They were uh, I would have to say I know the size. I don't want to
You
say
don't want to
it
say
yet.
it? Okay. So you
Let's
were
just say huge.
huge.
Uh,
So were you going for effect? You wanted to go a little more extreme or
not. I didn't want to go extreme. Prior to that, like I said, I was. By the time I started medications, I was 19,
okay.
and so obviously my body had developed to a certain point, so I wasn't gonna be getting much breast fat distribution to my body, so I didn't have much breast tissue to begin with. So I wanted to I wanted to have them a little bigger, but feel like I went a little too big now that I look at it.
Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to ask you is like at the time you must have felt a certain way, and now here you are after the fact, having gone in the other direction and reversed things. Do you have any different? How do you view those days? What do you think about that now?
I'm not proud of what I've done. I will say that. But I understand why I did everything. I thought that was for me.
So okay, so you had the top done.
Yes.
So what about the bottom?
No. I've never had that done. And prior to transitioning, I knew I did not want to get that done until. So what I told myself before I did anything is I'm gonna wait minimum 10 years before I get that one done, just in case a small chance that I might regret everything in detransition.
Okay, so you were
And
hedging your bet. Yeah, good call, I guess.
oh yeah, no, definitely. I've met a lot of other detransitioners that went from male to female, and some of them have gotten it done.
So, well, that's interesting. So, how do those people end up dealing with that if they've gone all the way and they've done the bottom surgery and then they want to detransition? Like that, there must be some psychological impact there.
I haven't heard from them in a while, but I know one of them has a family. He had kids ahead before he did anything.
Okay.
So, but
Well,
I
yeah, I was just going to say that's another dimension that people don't really think about when they discuss this topic is, whether you identify as, one gender or another, you may still want to have children, however you want to identify sexually. So I think, again, I was saying that, you seem like the person who went through all the steps the best possible way. And, that includes maybe hesitating before you go ahead and do a drastic intervention like the bottom surgery. Now, when did you get the papers to do the top and bottom surgery relative to the first time you went to see someone about this?
so I believe I got so I started to speak to I don't remember a psychologist, psychiatrist, I can't remember which one, but I did speak to one I believe late 2017, early 2018 to start to get surgery. I had only intended for top surgery, which was the implants, but by the end of it, he had. Well, I didn't even know until after I got the letters, but he had also gotten me the letter for bottom surgery.
So when was that then? Like, just in terms of like, was it weeks, months, years?
Uh, so like I said, it's either late 2017 or early 2018 is when I spoke to someone, and then by 2018 is when I got the letters of approval from my insurance. I was confused at what the bottom surgery was for, so I had to speak to a few friends, like, "Hey, what's this?" And they tell me, "Oh, it's bottom surgery." I was like, "Oh shit."
Okay, so you just
I
got a
did.
package with all the paperwork.
Yeah, envelopes saying you've been approved for these surgeries, and I was like, okay, I recognize top surgery, didn't recognize bottom surgery, and I was like, oh, I did not ask for that,
Okay, so
and I ignored it.
so
I'm
they
kind of glad I did.
so they preemptively gave you that. Like, had you asked for it at all in any of?
No,
No.
I know I never requested that, and like I said, I've always told myself 10 years was my minimum timeline.
Okay, so you built a lot of safeties in for yourself. I think that's kind of interesting because we hear all these stories of people that detransition and maybe they feel that they got pushed along a little too urgently. Obviously Billboard Chris is concerned about prepubescent children, for example. But you seem to be one of the people that went through it doing all the right things, and yet still you came to a point where you felt that that wasn't the right choice. So what do you think about affirmative care and all of these things where they don't maybe question if there might be another reason that you want to do this? Do you think they're overlooking something possibly in the care of people that went through something like you did?
Well, I will say affirmative care is why I was able to do everything. Nobody questioned me on anything. I feel like had I been at least given some pushback at first, I probably would have been a bit upset about it. But in the long run, it would have helped me from everything that I'm doing right now, or the damages that I've received to my body
Right.
regards to my transition.
So now, do you have any ongoing health issues having reversed, or?
Uh, I don't, to my knowledge, I don't have any health issues. It's just the hormones have given me natural breast tissues, and the implants have messed up my skin there. So
So
I do have, I
you have
have bigger breasts than what I before I had the implants.
okay.
And
So
then uh,
so
try not to be graphic, but downstairs for my male parts, I have seen some shrinkage.
okay, that doesn't sound very fun. So
No,
everything all the hardware, plumbing working okay though?
everything's working. Yes.
Everything's working. Okay. Check, check, check. So, well, that's good. And so do you need to take hormones now? Like, is this something you'll have to do for a long time, or will you be, is it just like a temporary thing and you'll be back to what you were before?
Honestly, I don't know 100%. I know I spoke to my primary care doctor about it. He says everything should be back within a few years, but I don't think so. I have testosterone shots. I'm supposed to be taking them once a week, but I always forget about everything. So I usually forget to take those. But I know my testosterone levels are also low to begin with. But I was hitting the gym a couple months ago before I started a second job, so my testosterone levels did go up a bit.
Okay. Well, you got a fair amount of facial hair going on there now, so
More
um,
than I began with.
yeah, yeah. So it looks like something's working. So we kind of talked about the physical parts of your transition, out and back, as they might say, there and back, as we titled the episode. Uh, how about psychologically? I mean, I don't really see a lot about, what your attitudes were towards females changing. Did you have partners as a female? Like, did you have a boyfriend? Did you,
No,
what
I never dated anyone.
did you have desire to? Like, did you have that kind of attraction, or was it?
No. So I don't think I ever was attracted to men. Um, the way I thought about it when I was transitioning the early stages, I eventually wanted to have a family, and I wasn't really attracted to anyone, so I was gonna be like, well, I just want to have a normal American family, the husband, the wife, and the kids. And well, since I was the female at the time, I was like, well, guess I would try to find a husband.
Okay, so you didn't really have a so the way I read that is, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like maybe you didn't really have a sexual identity as much as maybe a physical identification. Like, were
Yeah, no, I
you
wasn't really attracted to anyone.
male or female?
No.
So, but I guess you figured that since you had this anatomical change, that you would maybe try to live with that, or carry that through.
Yeah.
So did you date anyone? No.
No, I never dated anyone when I transitioned, nor before I transitioned.
And was that lonely, or were you hoping to have someone in your life, or was it
I
just
wanted someone in my life, but I think the thing that stopped me was I knew I was transgender, so I was like, I knew most people wouldn't, or at the time, most guys wouldn't want to date a transgender woman since I was still biologically male.
okay? Uh, all right. So was there a particular moment or something that clicked in you when you decided that this wasn't for you and you needed to turn the ship around?
It was within a couple months after I got top surgery and I had the implants, that's when I realized I made a mistake.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that was like? Was it
It I honestly just happened overnight. I wasn't doing really much. It just came out to me one day. I was like, I think I made a mistake about this, and well, I tried to see how to reverse anything. So eventually, went to see another therapist, and this new therapist, he was through my clinic that I was going to. So he was also a homosexual male, so he
so
was a
did
little biased towards my transition when I told him I feel like I made a mistake and I was thinking about detransitioning.
so that's interesting. So when you were transitioning away from your natal sex, it was all affirming, and when you wanted to transition back, were you getting more pushback then?
Oh yes, 100 times more pushback.
So like 100 times. That sounds like a lot. So
Well, a
what kind
little
of
over
thing?
exaggeration, yeah.
Sure, but so what kind of, how would you describe? Give me an example of something that they would say.
So at the time when I was seeing this new therapist, I had gone to a police academy. I had failed one of the course, so I had to wait to start the next year's semester. But I was gonna take a break from that, so and then I was thinking about joining the military at the time, just so I can detransition and leave California for a bit. Uh, but because this new therapist, he did not want me to detransition, and said, so he was telling me, "Don't go to the military. It's not for you. Just go straight into law enforcement and continue transitioning."
So do you feel that in retrospect was a there was anything valid to that assessment, or do you think he was just motivated to try and like stop you from detransitioning?
I think he was motivated to stop me from detransitioning and to because I'm in a very pro LGBT area. I think he just wants to keep, how do I say it without sounding odd? He wanted the numbers of LGBT members to be up, especially transgender people. Because I think maybe the year prior, I think there was about like 3,000 people in my surrounding areas that were transgender.
And I don't know if that's a lot for the population. I guess that's a,
I'm not sure. I can quickly check that out and estimate. Let me see.
yeah. So okay, that's interesting. Another thing I didn't ask you about is, your social life as a transgender person for a period of time. Did you have a lot of transgender friends? Like, were you steeped in the LGBT community, or were you just normal
A
person
lot
going
of my
through?
friends were transgender, LGBT, but most of it were transgender females, biological males transitioning to female.
Okay. So I obviously I would think they would be supportive of you. How did their behavior change towards you once you decided you wanted to reverse?
Um, so before, um, before and once I decided to detransition, I was actually no longer friends with anyone of the LGBT community because I was actually kicked out at the time because I was trying to be a cop, and one of the people who had a high position in regards to politics did not like that, so she had me excommunicated.
So wait a second. So they excommunicated you because you wanted to get a job in law enforcement?
Yeah.
So what's wrong with that? Well, I mean, is that I don't.
I assume just the LGBT community don't like law enforcement in general.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
that's a new one to me.
that's
Um,
probably just an American thing.
okay, I mean, like, is it like? I mean, well, you would be law enforcement as a woman cop, I guess, technically,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, a transgender Hispanic cop is what I would have been.
Okay. So, I mean, I mean, I could see a lot of progressives, cheering that on.
Yeah, I know the chief of police is he actually wanted me to be a cop with his department.
And
Um,
what was it like to work in that environment, or did you go through like boot camp or anything like that?
yeah, so I went to the academy. So the way I did it over here is it was broken up in three courses: first level, second, and the final course. I finished the first one. I made it halfway through the second course. It was pretty hard, I will be honest. In between the first and second course, I was already on hormones and everything, so my body did take a huge dip in performance, especially physical. So by the time the second course started, I had to stop taking some of my medication. So I would have been the best that I was able to with a minimal amount of uh, how do, decrease in my performance, I would say.
Okay, so you're trying to balance your physical performance with this transitioning
Yeah.
strategy. Yeah. So okay. And what about your coworkers? Did anybody treat you differently? Did you I mean
No,
I'm
I did not tell anyone that I was transgender in the academy. Only ones that knew were the instructors, especially the higher in the chain of command.
okay, so you were very passable then, I guess is what you're saying.
I would say, give or take, I wasn't
Was
questioned.
okay, yeah, okay. So either you were passable or nobody wanted to be rude, I guess. Okay, so but no, see, this is another interesting thing, right? So your story is one where it's kind of like everything goes the way it's quote unquote supposed to go, and you lived, I guess, in a more of a progressive. You live in California, right?
Yes,
When
Southern California to
so,
be, yeah,
so they're they clearly they make an effort to be more accepting, which is nothing wrong with that. So you had generally a smooth experience, I would think. So it really just at the end of the day, it came down to this isn't for you. So when you did transition away, um, then did you get any other when you finally made the decision and you were going to detransition? Did you find that people were in the LGBT community were different to you on social media or anything like that? I mean, you said that you were already kind of ostracized from that community. Did you find that when you actually went to because you were just talking about getting a job in law enforcement, but now when you're actually detransitioning, did anything happen there?
So no. So by the time I was excommunicated by the LGBT community, I didn't really attend anything that was LGBT related. I kept my distance. I did not want to deal a lot with them. So my detransition was mostly by myself, and then eventually I got rid of all my social medias. So no, so I went dark from everyone, so nobody knew anything about me.
That's going to be a little rough. I'm just wondering. I'm just thinking if I had friends. I mean, did you lose friendships over this?
Yeah, a lot of people stopped communicating with me. But especially after I got rid of my social media, because that was the main way most people got a hold of me. I lost everyone that I knew through the LGBT community, but I did have other friends from my personal life that were
So
prior to my transition.
so how did they step in and support you at least?
Yeah, no, everyone was supportive. I don't think I didn't like again. I didn't tell anyone until I was closer to the surgeries that I was having. I only told one individual. She didn't. For her, it was a 50-50. She still supported me because she was my friend, but she was really confused. But again, that is understandable because it's not something that most people would know about the transitioning. You know more about transitioning from either male to female or female to male, but you don't hear about the other one to detransition.
Hmm, hmm. Yeah. So okay. So now in retrospect, so you're detransitioning. you've gotten the top surgery reversed, I guess. Um, um, Down below, you didn't have the surgery, so I guess, I mean, other than maybe hormones and stuff, did you? I mean, we mentioned before that everything's in working order still. So what are your plans now?
Um, I'm just trying to do the best that I can for my detransitioning. I actually have a surgery upcoming this Thursday. At the time of this interview, it is the 22nd of February, so I'll be having it on the 24th.
What surgery is that?
It's to remove the rest of the tissue on my chest from the breast implants and the breast tissues that grew. So it's going to
Okay.
be another top surgery.
So now, are your nipples intact, or was it? I don't know what the. I guess they would.
So
Yeah. Sorry,
so
that's
from
kind
what
of
I've
personal.
so from
Yeah.
what I've spoken with a surgeon, so he's going to remove all the tissue there that's unnecessary, and he's going to have to remove my nipples and put them back on.
Well, I guess you're going to lose some sensitivity then.
Well, I've already lost some sensitivity due to the implants.
Right.
So what's losing the rest at this point?
Right. Wow. So in terms of career and life, I mean, I guess you kind of maybe still have that same idea of getting a family and whatever the
Yeah, I would still
2.4
like to
kids and a
have
dog.
Yep, I would still like to have a family. Uh, Preferably, I'd like to have maximum, if I can, 4 children. Uh, the more the better, obviously.
Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, some pets here and there. Yeah, that'd also be good. But I think before any of that happens, I need to find a girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe somebody's watching here and they'll give you a shout. You're on Twitter, right? What's your Twitter handle?
On Twitter, I am official Abel G.
Official Abel G.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see here.
Yeah,
I think
apparently, they have limited characters, so I couldn't fit my last name.
official Abel G. Do you want to spell that in case anybody wants to follow you on Twitter?
Yeah, I will try to type that in chat, or actually, let me send that to you.
Yeah, actually, if you put it in the chat, it'll probably show in YouTube and Facebook as well.
Let me see. I'll type it on YouTube.
So while you're typing that, I'm just thinking about if you met somebody who was a young person who was going through what you went through, feeling about transitioning. Would you give them any advice? Do you have any things that you'd like to see change in the system, or maybe just pointers for somebody who's considering doing what you did to maybe?
I mostly would try to sway them not to transitioning, only because from what I've experienced, especially with affirmative cares, they don't really give you the full breakdown of everything, of any potential risk. Because I know the main issue that I've seen is infertility for both male and female. So I would just inform people it's not best to start on any medications. Personally, I'm not a fan of the transitioning, so it'd be more like if they want to socially transition, fine, but nothing medical would be my hard line.
So what about, is there, what kind of person, I mean, you've known some people in the community. What kind of person would you say there's anyone who's the right fit for that type of intervention, or do you think that just nobody should do it?
Honestly, personally, I have to say nobody, just because it messes you up hormonally, and if you do regret it like I did, a lot of people I know are infertile, so that is a huge issue.
And what's the I mean, I can't imagine if that happened to me, if something made me infertile. I probably wouldn't be too happy about that. Especially if I was younger and I had prospects for being a parent someday. Do you know what that feels like for these people that detransition? We hear a lot about trying to mitigate suicidality risk and so on for people to affirm, but when you're detransitioning, there must be some kind of an impact there too, right?
Yeah, I know it's impacted me personally, emotionally, and psychologically. Usually, the way I describe it to other people is I'm just honestly fighting demons every single day with the detransitioning, especially the fact that I transitioned and I've done what I've done to my body. So, but
Yeah.
I would assume it affects others, especially if they've gotten bottom surgery. I think it's affected them more than what I've done, since I know I had a lot of uh, roadblocks I didn't put myself.
We have a question, if I can read that. Somebody was saying, uh, from Joanna, has he since found a supportive professional to speak to now to help with detransition? Who does he talk to for support? Yeah, maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. For professional, I actually have a new therapist, and this is not someone who actually affirms anything. He actually pushes back, which is a good news. So he's the only one who I speak to professionally about my transition, detransition, and everything I've done since then. I actually found him through one of his friends on the internet. One of his friends is actually a detransitioner by the name of Walt Heyer. I'm not sure if you know that individual.
Yes, I've heard of Walt Heyer. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of
I
one of
found Mr. Heyer on the internet, and when I found out that he had a website, I reached out to him, spoke with him a bit, told him my situation and where I'm at, and he actually informed me that he used to be where I'm currently at. So he said he had a friend who is a therapist who can help me.
And does this therapist, you were saying when you were given affirmation care, they were just kind of pushing you through the system. Do you feel that this therapist now is giving you better insights into the reasons that you wanted to transition before? Like, are you resolving any of the things that you feel maybe were underlying that decision in the first place?
Um, with this therapist, so if I make any statement or anything I say, he always questions me, and he makes me explain why I said what I said specifically.
And but are you feeling that that's helping, or is it just an interrogation?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, it helps only because it makes me think about why am I saying what am I. It helps me think about what I'm saying compared to when I was having affirmative care. They just took my word for it and didn't question anything.
Right.
So it's a
So,
little bit of pushback.
or at least some feedback, right? Give you just some
Yes.
sounding board. Yeah. Because what's the point of talking to somebody if they're not going to actually have a dialogue with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like before with the first two therapists, it was just talking to a brick wall and I just heard back my own echo of what I wanted to hear. With this one, it's finally somebody who is listening.
Well, that sounds positive. It sounds like you're getting something more out of that at least. Okay, so I'm just trying to think if there's anything more you wanted to cover or talk about. I mean, we got about 5 more minutes if we want to take it out to the hour. Do you have anything you wanted to add? Any question? Anything I didn't ask you a question about that you wanted to bring up?
Uh, Off the top of my head, no. Yeah, no, I don't have anything off the top of my head right now.
Okay. Um, so you talked about if you were to give anybody advice, you would say don't do it.
Yeah, I
Um,
would say to anyone wanting to transition, personally, don't do it, especially medical routes. Um, this me personally, I'm more concerned on the unbiological males who want to transition to a female. I know there's females who are more concerned on the biological females. I'm like I said, I care about both, but I'm more concerned on males over the females because that is my situation being a man.
right, right.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I would make sure that I would at least tell them don't have bottom surgery because that's irreversible. Well, for both. For both, it's irreversible. For the males, top surgery is reversible, but you're going to have a lot of scarring and damages. I know for females, for top surgery, it's permanent for them. But I know some of it, well, they can technically get implants, but from what I've heard from other females, it's not the same.
Right. Well, I guess it's kind of like what you went through at that point for them, right?
Yeah.
Getting an implant. So, well, so there you have it, folks. The story from a detransitioner, Abel Garcia. And the Twitter handle again was?
It's going to be official Abel G. That is going to be for both Twitter and Instagram. And then for YouTube, it's just Abel Garcia.
Official Abel G. I'm going to put that in the chat. We'll see. Hopefully I spelled that right. Does that look correct?
Lowercase, but yeah, that's good.
Yeah, okay. All right, so Joanna says best wishes to you. Again, the same thing here. I wish you all the best. You look like you seem to come out of it mostly unscathed. So, knock on wood for that. And speaking of wood, I hope you are able to have that family that you aspire to. And any single ladies who are looking for a man in the Southern California area, maybe reach out to Abel.
Soon to be in Texas.
Soon to be in Texas. There you go. Seems like a nice enough guy. Let him take you out for a coffee or something. Yeah. So great. Well, thank you so much, Abel. I'm really, really glad you came on the show. When I started this channel, it wasn't, the transgender issues was not really kind of my primary focus to do everything. I just wanted to kind of cover a lot of topics. And now this is like the third episode on the topic. So it's getting a little bit seasoned here for me. Maybe I'll have to get another transitioner or detransitioner who's female to male and round it out a bit more. But I think it's really a fascinating topic. I think it's important that we need to recognize that we're all just human beings, and someone who's going through this experience is a real human being too, and not to hate on anybody, but at the same time, we want to be mindful that this person is going through something that is a medical intervention. There could be, potential harm or consequences to them, maybe worth taking a second thought at least before you go ahead and do that. So, Abel, thank you so much for joining the show. And I'd like to thank all of our listeners and people watching the show today for watching. And later this week, I will be having She Van Fleet. We're going to be talking about her experience living through Mao's Cultural Revolution. So that should be an interesting episode. I hope you watch that one too, Abel. And sorry, did you want to say something?
No, I'll watch that video.
Yeah, great. So excellent. And on that note, we'll see. We'll roll my new title again, in case you didn't see it at the beginning. This is a kind of a transitional thing. Haha, pardon the pun. For the rebranding. So I'll just kind of recap on that too. So the channel was called Headway Channel. It was just sort of a throwaway name until I got a more permanent name. I have a Twitter handle called Logan Fizzle, and when I had Billboard Chris on last episode, he tweeted, "I'm going to be on this show with Logan 5." So it was kind of a giveaway, so that the Twitter account got. The cat was out of the bag, so I just rebranded the show as Logan Fizzle, and that's my new alias for this show. And here is the title graphics. They're kind of rough, but it's a little bit fun and cheeky. So check this out one more time.
Logan 5, do you identify?
Negative.
All right, Abel, thank you so much. Any last words?
Just follow me on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And I hope you guys like the content that I'm making on my channel.
Great. Thanks, Abel. Thanks for coming on, and everybody, please give him a follow on those platforms. Have a good night, everyone.